Yo guys, I've got a spark which I'm going to use to ignite the fire for a top 10 video here on my channel, and it's going to be for the 4th day of Skylanders, hence why I'm currently in my Christmas jumper. But that being said and done, this isn't exactly going to be a brand new top 10 video, hence why I didn't use that terminology when opening up with this video, because this is actually a remaster of an old top 10, and boy did this old 10 video really need this here remake. So naturally I'm going to be keeping all of the original audio, but the visuals have been rehauled, and as you can hear in the background I also have some music. So overall the video is a lot better quality now than it used to be, and a lot of you will have even watched the original video, given that we are talking today about the top 10 villains that should have returned to Senseis in Skylanders Imaginators, and it was one of my best, most performing videos even. And that's saying a lot. It had thousands of views, so I do really appreciate the support on the original video, but like I said, this video was really in the need for a remake. So today is going to be a nice nostalgic look back to one of my more interesting top 10 videos, and I cannot wait to revisit it and of course display my opinions as to which villain should have returned as Senseis in Skylanders Imaginators, but do so in a far more impressive format with greater quality in my visuals and my sound. So without further ado, we are going to introduce the top 10 concept, and then we are going to count down the actual villains themselves who should have become Senseis in Skylanders Imaginators. Let's get to it without further ado. Skylanders Imaginators had an awesome cast of rehabilitated villains that came back to become Senseis. Some of them got reassigned to new elements, but all of them have their very own battle class. But there definitely is a way that this cast could be improved, with 10 new representatives that could be from any game within the franchise, mind you. So long as they are classed as a villain, I feel like they could have had a shot at becoming a Sensei. So that's why we're going to look today at the top 10 villains that should have been reintroduced as Senseis in Skylanders Imaginators, with a one rule being that there can only be one representative of each element and each battle class on the list right here. Starting us off at number 10, we have Shield Shredder. Now, this character does have the perfect colour palette for the tech element, since I think he would make a great tech knight, purely because he has that armour, which is of course silver, and the rest of his woodwork is orange, so that's why he fits the colour palette of the tech element. But on top of that, the reason why he makes such a great knight, you know, I've already mentioned about the aesthetics and the armour and everything, but all you really need to do is add a sword. He already has the shield, so giving him a sword, you know, a sword and shield is a very knight type weaponry, and not to mention he literally charges into battle, so you could incorporate his sword blades and his charging into his sensei moveset and flesh that out a little bit more to make his gameplay feel more fluent and more combo heavy. So he has the aesthetics of a knight, the personality of a knight, and ultimately his colour palette definitely does help. And what also helps is the fact that you could spice up Skylanders Imaginators and add some variety into figurines, because he's very different in size and shape to all the other senseis. For anyone who's slightly similar, you could say is Airstrike. So once again, adding in that variety would be really, really cool to see, and I generally do think he would make a really awesome and detailed figurine, especially with that woodwork that they could mold together. It could look so damn cool, and I would definitely appreciate seeing all of that. But ultimately, whilst I don't mind for elemental swap outs, I do wish they were more consistent. So swapping Shield Shredder over to the tech element is a bit of a pain, but not by much. Ultimately, what makes him number 10 on the list is the very fact that he doesn't feel like the most original choice, and he would feel like he'd come out of left field. He's not exactly a fan favourite, so there's just characters on the list coming up which are better than him, such as Clue. Now, he became a fan favourite based on his accent and his name alone, and not to mention he's really the only villain from the whole of Trap Team that would make for a good bow slinger, because he already has a crossbow, so what they need to do is increase the size of that and create for an awesome bow slinger type character. Now, unfortunately, he wouldn't maintain for water element. I think they could easily swap out for a life elemental Skylander, because, you know, he's a crow, and There are quite a few bird Skylanders with a life element, more so the air than life, but still, he could work with life, or say, maybe even fire off birds, in a similar vein to what Zulu does and everything. Because he already summons crows, so incorporating that into some sort of bow and arrow even would be really, really cool to see, and I just really want to see Crow put into much more sensei-based light, and what I mean by that is a giant weapon. I think it would really suit his character, and it would mean he would make a really awesome figurine, especially with that feather-based armor which you see before you. That put into a figurine would look so cool, and he definitely would need to swap up his colour palette as well to make him a life Skylander, because the purple and the blue don't really work and don't really mesh together well with the rest of the elements, but ultimately that's the only change he could really make, and I do think he would make a better figure than Shield Shredder, but again, he's not the most original choice. That's why he's only number 9, right behind I-5. Now, it'd be so cool to see a figurine with hands larger than anything else, and, you know, his eyes embedded into his hands. It's a very unique and very awesome design that could once again bring a lot of variety to Imaginators, and he would be a light brawler, because, you know, big fists, maintaining with his light element and everything, it's just a perfect combination, mind you. But unfortunately, I don't think his moveset could be as good as other senseis, purely because he doesn't have as many cool things to draw from, and there's only so much you can do with a pair of giant hand fists as a brawl in Skylanders, so I don't think he would live up to the other villain senseis in terms of his moveset, unfortunately. So his moveset potential has limited him to number 8 on the list, but number 7, however, we have Crankenstein, who I'd personally maintain with the air element, but I'd make him a quick shot. So swap out his little hand thing and his shield and give him 2 air blasters, which could look really cool. They could even, once again, take some intertextuality with it and give him Jetpack's double blasters from his full blast iteration. It would be really cool to see those brought back, maybe even innovated in a way and have something added to, because those weapons are so well designed. Unfortunately, I do think this would swap out a figure a little bit too much and would make it so it wouldn't really resemble the original villain all that much, which kind of goes against the point. But at the end of the day, at least we could get a really good figurine out of it. Once again, he's got very unique shape to him, and his size once again makes him a very good looking figure to be made. So that's why Crankenstein is as low as number 7 on the list. But number 6 is going to be Nightshade, who could make the perfect dark ninja. He already has a colour palette for it. However, his moveset would have to be significantly improved, because in Trap Team, his moveset kind of sucks. So that's why he's as low as number 6. Ultimately, his moveset potential isn't as great. But his element and battle class combination is just full of potential, and it could easily liven up his gameplay a whole lot more with that. Due to potential here, number 6 is the perfect spot for him, and I'm honestly shocked that they didn't bring him back in the original game. You know, maybe bring back Nightshade over Hudsicle and leave the water spot open for Gulper as a sentinel, but I'm getting a bit ahead of myself, because Gulper is number 5, and ultimately he's number 5 over Nightshade because he has a better design. He's a giant slug. That just really suits a figurine format, and it could be really unique too. And I would personally make Gulper a life sentinel, because all you need to do is make his trident double-sided, and once again you'd have that intertextuality because Imaginators have similar weapons, so he just feel really included, or secluded I should say, as part of the Sentinel class, and he'd really fit in due to his weapon type, so there's a lot of potential there, not to mention his moveset and Trap Team was far better than Nightshade, making me feel like he has much more potential on the moveset front, although unfortunately he would be quite slow, so I don't think he'd be a good character for pacing the game out, mind you, but I do think there could definitely be some fun made with this Skylander, and he could definitely make for a good figurine. But here's one villain that they didn't even bring back for Trap Team, and it honestly shocked me, for Rock Giant. He would make the perfect Earth Smasher, bringing rocks down to smash upon his enemies. Ultimately, he is another rock golem, so it wouldn't really bring that much variety, especially when we already have Barbella in the game. But his weaponry and gameplay style, however, could bring up enough variety, and not to mention, it would really bring back fans that have grown out of the franchise, because it would be a big kick of nostalgia for them. So that would definitely be an upside to bringing him back, and ultimately seeing this awesome design again, and even better yet, in a 3D printed figurine, will just bring so much life to Imaginators, and it would be so much fun to see. But moving on to number 3, however, we have Oculus. He has a perfect design for a swashbuckler, being nothing but a giant eyeball and then a thin arm and a tail leaning downwards. So that's why he would make a perfect undead swashbuckler, mind you, because he'd fit in very well with the Imaginators and Bad Juju in particular. Plus, an undead swashbuckler is a very interesting correlation between the element and the battle class, mind you. And there's that kick of nostalgia that he can create. So overall, he would be a ton of fun to play as, I'm sure. There is a problem with the shape of him, with his eye being so big and the rest of him being so thin. I don't think that would make for a good figure necessarily in terms of his moulding, so they definitely would need to make quite a few changes. But as it stands, it's still a great figurine. I just hope that when it comes to those changes I previously mentioned, that they wouldn't make him far too obvious, shall we say, or frequent in his design. So that's where a lot of potential is lost. And he's at number 3 purely because the next 2 slots are much better villains, and for number 2 in particular is one which I question every single day as to why they didn't add in. I mean, I'm glad they chose Tycoon Crow over Chef Pepperjack because he's a better character, but big but here. Are we seriously sure that Tycoon Crow made a better moveset than Chef Pepperjack? Because you could swap out Chef Pepperjack's whisk for a bazooka and you could have so much fun with that, you know. He has unlimited potential in some of his gameplay. And once again, he's got a very unique design. A huge pepper with kitchen garments on. It could work out so cool, and it will make such a nice figurine indeed, for shape being so unique. And there's a lot of personality even to Chef Pepperjack as well, so they definitely could explore a whole lot of options with Chef Pepperjack, and it's a shame that they just threw away all the potential he could have had. So he's as high as number 2 on the list to make for yet another fire bazooka, just because he could have been so awesome here. But I tell you who else could have been awesome. Our number 1 pick, Mez Miranda. Now, they didn't bring Escada back for Trap Team, which was a surprise and a disappointment. And then they ditched her again for Imaginators, when she would have made a great sorcerer. You didn't even need a staff for her, because she can already summon all sorts of things like her spinning dancers and her explosive chickens. That's a very unique set of skills that can make for very interesting and fun gameplay mechanic. So above all, she could be unique in terms of her weaponry amongst the sorcerer class. She could make for a really cool figurine, since she has a very unique and very awesome design. She has a great personality, so once again she'd bring a lot of life to the game, similar in the same vein to Chef Pepperjack and Oculus and Crankenstein and so on and so forth. And there is literally no drawbacks to including her. Like, you could even have a cutscene with her singing in it again, because that was one of the highlights of Swap Force, since it kind of takes you off guard. And I think this choice would have took all the Skylanders fans off by surprise, and you know, that surprise would have led to more anticipation of the game, and it would have genuinely done nothing but improve upon the game's quality. A single Skylander can do that, and that's what Mez Miranda could have done. So why wasn't she included? No idea. And that's why she's number 1 on the list for Skylanders villains that should have been included in Skylanders Imaginators. I cannot, in good conscience, end off this video without first thanking all of my incredible channel members whose continued support help make these videos possible. Without them, these videos would be near impossible to make, so from the bottom of my heart, I truly appreciate every last one of them. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more, there are plenty of options on screen now to explore, and please consider subscribing to keep up to date with all my content. On that note, this video is coming to an end, so thank you so much as always for watching. Until the next video arises, peace!